of weeks ago, during a fit of sleepless anxiety, I laid in bed thinking about the 2 auto-rejection emails I received that day, one of which was sent at 10:33 p.m., and I started to wonder, how many jobs have I applied for and been rejected for this year? So I started planning this video. Of course, this all would have been a lot easier had I come up with the idea in January instead of December and collected data throughout the year instead of doing it retrospectively and trying to remember every job board and application and cover letter and then rereading the cover letter and realizing I spelled a word wrong in the first sentence and blaming that for the reason I didn't get the job. But here we are. I set a goal of creating a data set for 6 main questions. Number 1, how many jobs did I apply for in 2024? Number 2, how many jobs ghosted me? Number 3, how many jobs auto-rejected me? Quick background, I categorized a rejection as an auto-rejection if I received the email within a couple of hours, if it was addressed to candidate or applicant instead of to my name, and if it otherwise just seemed to come from a robot instead of a human being. Number 4, how many interviews did I complete this year? 5, how many additional jobs rejected me after the interview? And 6, how many job offers did I receive in 2024? So I woke up really early, slammed a Ghost Energy drink, and quickly realized this was going to be a lot more work than I thought. Here's the thing. I thought that I would just type the words job application into my Outlook search box, and then I'd come up with a list of all of the application confirmations I received over the course of 2024. But I quickly realized there were 2 main problems with this strategy. The first problem, the search function on Outlook is terrible and completely unreliable. I typed in job application and it brought up everything from Reddit to no ding credit card confirmations. Here you can see I ended up just manually scrolling through all of my deleted emails to find potential employers. The second issue that I ran into was that a lot of employers are mean and stinky and they actually never sent me a confirmation of my application. So if I just limited my search to my email inbox, I wouldn't have any record of those applications, which meant that I was going to have to go to all of the individual job boards that I applied on to find data for those applications, which would take a lot of time and effort and remembering things. So I gave up. Is what a quitter would say. Let's go. I opened up every job board I could remember viewing and checked company websites to create a hopefully complete list of jobs I applied for. This resulted in my browser looking like this for days and me wanting to cry. Also, this process made me realize how many jobs I'm still waiting to hear back from. These applications were literally submitted over 6 months ago. Are you Anyways, after a week of research into my own job applications, I finally had a completed list of everything I could recall applying for in 2024. Of course, there's a chance I missed like a few, but those don't matter anyways, okay? I'm not a freaking data analyst. Just leave me alone. I then cross-checked this list of jobs with all of my emails either confirming my application, offering me an interview, or rejecting me to determine how many employers just ghosted me after I pressed submit. With all of this in mind, I had the data set I was looking for. First, how many jobs did I apply for? In total, I applied for 73 jobs in 2024. Honestly, I thought that this number would be higher. That only averages to like 1.5 applications a week. I mean, like, was I even locked in or? Second, how many jobs ghosted me? Looks like I'm still waiting to hear back from a whopping 42 employers about my application status. If my math is right, it is. I triple checked it. That amounts to 50% of employers who never got back to me. Third, how many companies auto-rejected me? According to my definition of auto-rejection, 12 jobs auto-rejected me this year. I was also rejected from another 9 positions before the chance to interview, but from the basic vibe of those emails, they seem to have come from a real person and not AI. Fourth, how many interviews did I complete this year? After 73 applications, 42 ghostings, 12 auto-rejections, and 9 real rejections, I was left with 10 employers who wanted to interview. After completing those 10 interviews, I was rejected from another 7 positions, which leaves me with 3 job offers total in 2024. One of those job offers came from a company called Atlas Consulting Group, a shady corporation that I applied to on a whim, even though their job postings were super unclear about the role. As an entry-level management trainee, apparently I could expect daily tasks like exceeding customer expectations and delivering smiles. And all I needed was 0 to 3 years of experience to be considered. And most suspiciously, they got back to me within a day, offering a time to set up for me to learn more about the role. Before I even really interviewed for the position, I mean, I guess it worked because it did make me want to learn more about the company, but probably not in the way they hoped for. Turns out Atlas Consulting Group is maybe a devil corp. I said maybe, y'all. Don't you dare come for me for defamation. What's a devil corp, you ask? I didn't know either, but I found this article from Sofia Sjouken that helped explain it. She writes, it's when companies masquerade as legitimate businesses but operate like scams, and they can be difficult to spot. You believe you will be working a legitimate entry-level marketing job with amazing growth opportunities. In reality, you will probably end up selling door-to-door or standing all day in a retail store as a sales rep. Oftentimes, you will be convinced to sign a self-employment contract and not even receive hourly pay. And if you don't recruit or make sales, you get absolutely zilch. So with that in mind, I took a deep dive into Atlas Consulting Group to see if they matched this description. First things first, you believe you will be working a legitimate entry-level marketing job. Check. Second, you will probably end up selling door-to-door all day or standing all day in a retail store. Well, according to Atlas Consulting Group, I would be delivering smiles to customers all day. Inconclusive, but the use of delivering is certainly provocative. Third, you will be convinced to sign a self-employment contract. I didn't make it far enough to get contractual with them. So we'll have to review others' experiences to figure this one out. First, I found a Glassdoor review from an anonymous former employee who wrote, "This is not an office job. You will be going door to door all day for little to no pay. You only get paid for sales, which are few and far between. Minimum wage at a fast food joint will pay more, I promise." Oof, I mean, sorta sounds like what Sofia was describing. But maybe it's just one disgruntled employee. We'll have to keep looking to find out more. Another anonymous Glassdoor reviewer said 110% a devil corp. That's their words, not mine. I'm quoting, okay? I'm quoting. The goal is to get you in the door no matter what. They advertise the salary on job boards as well as job duties that are blatant lies. They do not pay a salary. They do not pay hourly. They do not have a base pay, even though they claim they do in the initial interview. It is 100% commission-based. They avoid paying minimum wage by utilizing 1099 contractor employment forms because this is not a marketing job. It is door-to-door sales. Whew. Okay, that is pretty damning. But again, it's just 2 former disgruntled employees. It's not like there are dozens of people complaining. What's that? There are? In all seriousness, this is a scam that I completely fell for. I was confused by what the everyday tasks would be, but I was looking forward to learning more about the role in an interview setting. Honestly, it's only because so many other jobs ghosted me outright that I was suspicious when Atlas wanted to hire me too easily. I found this role on a legitimate job board that treated the company as real. And despite me reaching out and reporting them for shady activity, their job boards are still up and active on both LinkedIn and Handshake. They update their listings all the time. This posting from 1 week ago already has another 26 applicants. Desperate job seekers are still unfamiliar with these schemes and applying to fill these roles, which is just another thing we have to look out for in an already stressful application environment. So not counting the potential devil corp that wanted to work with me, I was offered 2 legit positions this year out of the 73 applications I submitted. Both of them were barista positions, and one of them I accepted, and that's still where I work currently. So out of 73 applications, I was rejected from consideration in 71 positions. My acquisition rate is less than 3%. I mean, it's so small that it doesn't even show up on this pie chart breaking down my data. In conclusion, I am unhireable, apparently. And also, I have wasted so much time this year alone applying to jobs that I will never work. Here's the thing. It's not that I was unqualified for the majority of positions that I applied for this year. I have a bachelor's in 2 subjects. I'm working on a master's. I have just under a decade of experience in the service industry and 3 years experience in team management and coaching. I matched the majority of the qualifications, if not all of them, on almost every application that I submitted. And a lot of those companies still ghosted or auto-rejected me. I started to question what my problem was. Am I really unhireable? I mean, I see articles all the time about there's not enough workers to fill the amount of open jobs in the US right now since everybody ramped up post-COVID. I mean, US News reported in October there were 7.5 million job openings in the US. And NBC News says the unemployment rate is historically low at 4.2%. So if all of that is the case, then why am I having such a hard time finding a new career right now? A quick scroll through the Recruiting Hell subreddit makes it seem like I'm not the only person with these struggles. Redditors have posted expressing many of the same frustrations I've felt this year, including auto-rejections addressed to name, jobs that don't actually exist, and ghostings. Analysis Substantial says they have applied to over 600 jobs this year and expressed their frustration over ghost jobs. So this theme of ghost jobs keeps coming up, but what are they? According to NPR, ghost jobs refer to listings by employers that either aren't real or have already been filled but never lead to an actual hire. A lot of times these jobs are reposted over and over again, amassing hundreds of applicants without the company ever actually hiring anyone for the role. Ghost jobs could occur for innocent reasons, like a company changing something about their inner workings and therefore no longer needing to fill a role. But they could also occur for malicious reasons, like making it appear as if they're expanding when they're not. As Nietzsche 1971 points out on Reddit, when done for malicious purposes, ghost listings could be considered illegal false advertising, but this is almost never the case. Why is that? Well, as Desolate Cat underscores in their comment here, it would be incredibly hard to prove companies were being intentionally misleading. They could simply claim they're restructuring and no longer need the position. Ghost listings are a big problem in the modern job application process. Economists Lisa Simon and Stephanie Howe analyzed hires to listings earlier this year and found that while in 2021, for every 10 listings, only 8 people were hired to fill the roles, in 2024, for every 10 listings, only 4 people were hired. That means from 2021 to 2024, the number of ghost listings has tripled. Now, in some cases, 60% of applicants are applying for a role that a company will ultimately decide not to fill. But ghost listings don't explain the full story. Why are so many companies deciding not to hire people? And why are seemingly so many people searching for a new position right now? The answer to that, according to major economists, is that the job market is cooling down right now, which prevents employers from wanting to take a risk on new hires, causing stiffer competition between applicants. This article from Reuters states, U.S. job openings increased solidly in October while layoffs dropped by the most in 1 to 1.5 years, suggesting the labor market continued to slow in an orderly fashion. They analyzed reports that found employers hesitant to hire more workers and concluded that regardless of increasing job opportunities, hiring declined across all business sizes. In addition to more companies being hesitant to take a risk on new hires during a period of market stability, there actually are also more people seeking a job right now. From the same Reuters article, more workers quit their jobs, likely in search of greener pastures. Quits surged by 228,000, the most since May 2023, to 3.3 million. Workers have quit their jobs this year for a variety of reasons, including low wages compared to early year inflation, poor benefits available at their current position. But one of the categories that interested me particularly was the issue of recent college grads facing underemployment. According to Investpedia, underemployment is a measure of the total number of people in an economy who are unwillingly working in low-skill and low-paying jobs, or only part-time because they cannot get full-time jobs that use their skills. Forbes does a decent job at expressing some of the frustrations of underemployment in their article, The Growing Gap Between College Grads and Available Jobs. They write, while 52% of college graduates are working in jobs that don't require higher education, 75% of them remain in this situation for a full decade after college. Some individuals spend months applying to thousands of jobs after they graduate, get called back to a handful, but ultimately end up being ghosted in the end. So they just take what roles they can get. There's a rapid increase in available jobs that require bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, or even doctoral degrees, but barely pay more than the minimum wage. And unfortunately, even just a quick peek at online job boards shows this last point has a lot of merit. For example, in Salt Lake City, you could work as a school and community outreach instructor so long as you have a bachelor's degree and a few years of relevant experience, and you could make $15 to $20 an hour. Or you could work as a dishwasher with some previous experience preferred and make $15 to $20 an hour. Closer to home, you could work as an entry-level behavior technician just outside of Denver, degree and experience strongly preferred for competitive applicants, and make $14.81 to $20 an hour. Or instead, you could work as a barista in Blackhawk about 25 minutes away and make $18 to $20 an hour, no degree required. And as a quick aside, I'm not making the argument that baristas and dishwashers don't deserve to be paid adequately for the hard work that they do within their roles. I'm merely trying to show that there's little financial incentive to pay a lot of money to obtain a degree and then make the same salary as if you hadn't. Back to Forbes, they conclude, underemployment is sticky. Apparently, individuals who find work outside of their degree fields find reason to stay there instead of pursuing employment related to their degree. But I don't like the way that this is worded. See, there are plenty of people out there, like myself, who have tried to find something that utilizes their education and just haven't been able to. CNBC analysts estimate that LinkedIn applicants increased by 14% in volume this year, with 85% of workers saying they plan to look for a new role. All of this has resulted in a massive amount of job seekers, most of whom have similar qualifications, a lot of which are recent college grads currently facing underemployment, flocking to the same few open roles and hoping that they're the best candidate for the position. I mean, take this rejection I got on Christmas Day, by the way, as an example. I was qualified for this position, and I was super excited by the idea of it. But do I think I was more qualified than the other 749 people who also applied? Probably not. And we haven't even talked yet about the everyday frustrations with today's application process that add so much unnecessary stress for current job seekers. Like individual companies requesting a resume, but then asking you to manually fill out 80 drop boxes on their website before you're up for consideration. Or companies asking for cover letters that are targeted to the role that you're applying for, but then rejecting you before a human ever lays eyes on that note. And many of these companies don't even have the time or the decency to provide you feedback, a confirmation that your application was received, or updates on whether or not you're even still in the running. I want to share a few of the most frustrating examples of my job application experience this year, just to give you an idea of what it's like to be a post-grad job seeker in the year 2024. Example 1, customer service teacher. This was a government job that took over 7 months to complete my full application process before they decided not to hire me. Step 1, apply to role. Check. I did that back in May. It did, of course, require that I both submit my resume, but then fill out a bunch of different drop-down boxes manually, doubling the amount of time that it would have taken to just submit my resume. This job application also required I answer a series of prompts with 1 paragraph each, submit a cover letter, and submit 4 references, which I did during the application. So then on to step 2, wait many months and assume you're not getting hired. Step 3, Go to Tahoe on vacation for your friend's wedding. Get an email at 5 p.m. that you need to complete a qualifying exam within the next 24 hours. Oh, and it's required. It takes 60 minutes and there will be no extensions or retakes allowed. Step 4, run to Starbucks, steal their Wi-Fi at 7 a.m. and take the test before your friend's wedding starts and thank the Lord that you brought your laptop with you. Step 5, hear nothing back for another 2 months, even though you aced the exam. Step 6, get auto-scheduled for a background check interview during a day you're already scheduled to work at your full-time job. Step 7, use your lunch break not to eat lunch. Instead, spend that time phone interviewing with a background checker. Be told you'll hear back in 2 weeks, but then a month goes by and no one answers your email when you reach out to follow up. Step 8, get auto-scheduled again for an in-person interview this time on another day when you're already scheduled to work. And of course, it was just sent as an email template. It's okay. It's all worth it for the potential that I might work at position title in the position department. Luckily, one of my incredible coworkers offered to switch shifts with me so that I could attend this interview. Step 9, get rejected 2 weeks after the interview. I mean, this entire application process was so incredibly frustrating. I work full-time and I attend school part-time, and this company never once addressed my needs or availability. I really wanted the job, so I stuck with the process, but I regret it because it took so much time and it was so incredibly stressful for a job I didn't end up landing. But I've got to move on because I have other roles that I want to tell you about. This next one I remember so well because it actually had the most fun application process. For this one, I got to spend hours making a semester-long lesson plan, pre-recording an interview by myself where I got to learn nothing about the company in turn, and then finding and submitting 3 references, which I found and submitted all 3 of. But here's where the fun really started, because 2 minutes after they sent the link to all of my references to submit a recommendation for me, they disqualified me from the role, which I thought must be a mistake. I mean, they hadn't actually received anything yet from my references. The link didn't work. I emailed a response right away to the rejection email I had just received saying I was in contact with my references throughout this application process and was informed they only just received the email to provide information about my qualifications for this position. Little wordy. And I just wanted to make sure there wasn't some sort of mistake since I don't believe any of them had the opportunity to provide feedback until after I received this email. And then, just in case it wasn't a mistake, I added, additionally, if this wasn't an error, I would appreciate any feedback you can give for why I wasn't chosen for this role and what I can change going forward. To which they responded, we will not be moving forward with your application at this time, and please keep in mind that as a policy, we will not provide individual feedback on any application. Sick, that's super helpful. But the reason this application was so frustrating isn't because I was rejected or because they refused to provide feedback. It's because they sent the email to my references, people that I look up to and that I want to make proud. And then the link never worked. They rejected me 2 minutes later. That resulted in a lot of panicked phone calls from my references asking what was going on, informing me that the link didn't work, where I embarrassingly had to admit that I was no longer in consideration for the role. If they would have rejected me without ever sending anything to my references, I would be a lot less salty. This next one, admittedly, is kind of funny. A recruiter reached out and asked me to apply for an after-school program coordinator position, but the dates of the job and the deadline weren't matching up, so I reached back out hoping to get some clarification, and they never got back to me. About 2 weeks later, I noticed that the listing was updated and the mismatch was seemingly fixed, so I submitted my application. A week after that, they offered me a phone interview with a sign-up link in the email. I went to sign up, but the link didn't work. So I reached out again saying, yo, I'm still interested in this position and looking forward to a chance to learn more about it. I just attempted to sign up for an interview slot at the link provided, and unfortunately, I'm getting an error message that I don't have the proper credentials to access the page. I didn't hear anything back from them about that, but the next day the link was working. So I signed up for my 30-minute slot, waited for my call, and then received nothing. 20 minutes into the 30-minute interview, I sent another email. I said, I scheduled a phone interview this morning from 9:30 to 10 Mountain Time. but I did not receive a call. I wanted to make sure that this link worked, and you can see that I scheduled an interview. Before I attempt to schedule another one, please let me know when possible. Then, 25 minutes into our 30-minute scheduled interview, I received a call. I was no longer expecting a call, and I wasn't near my phone, nor was the volume on, so I didn't answer. The interviewer left a voicemail asking me to get back to them as soon as I could, but at that point I was feeling a little petty, and I wanted them to answer my email first. I never heard back from them. It's also worth mentioning that the day that I scheduled this interview, I made plans around that 30-minute carved out time where we were scheduled to talk. So calling him back later in the day actually wasn't an option for me, nor should I have had to. He had the availability open. Why have the availability open? But yeah, it's been a few weeks and I still haven't heard anything back in response from them. In this example, I communicated about issues I was having with the application process 4 different times, and I was communicated back to 0. Example number 4, and this one's also kind of funny, because I applied for an HR position at this new social media company for this new emerging app, who I never heard anything back from about my application, but they did encourage applicants to download their app and use it. See here, we encourage all candidates to experience Halfgram firsthand by downloading the app on the iOS App Store. Joining our community is the best way to understand the future you'll help create. Shameless plug. But by far the most frustrating issue that recurred during this whole application process was the amount of companies that never got back to me, or straight up told me they wouldn't get back to me, or told me they don't provide feedback. That's not their thing. That's a super frustrating thing to hear as an applicant. For example, this email confirmation that said, "Please note that due to the high volume of applications we receive, we are unable to personally respond to each applicant." This one isn't a specific experience, it's just generally annoying. So why does any of this matter? I'm lucky enough to have a full-time job while working on and submitting these applications, but some aren't. They spend hours, weeks, months applying to jobs that never provide them any feedback, don't address them by their name, and don't have the decency to tell them if they're still being considered for the role. Many job seekers don't have the luxury of income or time. They don't have forever to just wait around being dragged about by potential employers, and it's not fair to expect applicants to give everything while employers don't have the same commitment. So how do we fix this? Truly, I don't have the answer. We could work to eliminate AI reviewers in the application process that mistakenly shelve qualified applicants. We could sanction ghost listings that are posted for malicious reasons. But while those 2 actions would make the application process less frustrating, it wouldn't increase an employer's likeliness to take risks on new hires, especially recent college graduates. For me, the most important thing that I've had to remember throughout every application that I've submitted this year is that my worth as an employee is not defined by constant auto rejections or ghostings. I still have value as a worker, and more importantly, as a human being, regardless of what some companies' artificial intelligence thinks. And I encourage other job seekers to try and remember that too. Surely some of you are hovering over your keyboard right now, prepared to comment something like, "Just get a job to pay your bills," or "Shut up, you whiny liberal, and learn a trade." Here's the thing. There isn't anything wrong with service jobs. Trades, technical skills. I grew up with a blue-collar dad who did all of those jobs as good as he could, and I was inspired by his work every day. I've also worked in the service industry since I got my first job when I was 15, and I've learned a lot as a direct result of that. But the fact of the matter is, in America, our jobs are a core part of our identity. We place value on them, and we often want to be valuable within them. A lot of times when we're introducing ourselves to strangers, our job might be the second or third thing we mention. Work does matter to us, or at least it has the ability to, and it takes up such a large part of our short lives. So when somebody mentions that they want to do something new to establish themselves in a new career, I think it's important to remember that. For me, my long-term interests lie in teaching, research, and writing. I can and do currently work in a service job, and I enjoy it most days. But I, like many others, am in search for something that guides my lifetime aspirations. Little Sims reference there for you. So yeah, 73 applications and 2 offers. That's what I originally set out to research in this video, and I accomplished it. So what do I plan to change going into 2025? Well, first, I'll probably do a better job of researching what I'm applying for, so I don't take time applying for ghost jobs or potential devil corps. Maybe I'll apply to more small businesses instead of larger corporations at the risk of losing potentially benefits. I can keep polishing my resume and my cover letter and making sure that everything's really good to go before I hit submit. But ultimately, I need to learn to be okay with failure in the application process. I need to remember that my time and commitments are valuable outside of just being a job seeker. Besides, an employer that drags us through the mud in the application process for the sake of then sending an auto rejection probably wouldn't be that fun to work for anyways. So this is my first YouTube video, and I don't have an outro, and I'm also not really sure what to do now. So I guess comment your experiences and stuff. I can't guarantee if or when or what I'll upload in the future. This was just an idea that I came up with at like 4 a.m. when I couldn't get back to sleep, and I felt like I had to do it. Anyways, bye!